Right, what we're going to do first of all is discuss last night, discuss that game between England and Australia at Wembley. It was a 1-0 win in the end. Ollie Watkins, the scorer, on 57 minutes. But the overriding feeling is, Tim Sherwood, this, yes, a lot of players looking to stake a claim, really, for a place on the plane for Euro 2024. England pretty much there. Yeah. Overall, was it a fairly unconvincing performance?
Yeah, I think it was. I think we have to give credit to Australia. I thought they were excellent.
Made life tough for England, didn't they?
Yeah, they had a good game plan, sat very deep, a lot of bodies behind the ball, and they countered when they had it. I don't think there was much control in the game for England. I think the chances come for Australia. I think they were evenly matched, really, on chances. It's always going to be the case when you make so many changes, though. I mean, you can't win if you're Gareth Southgate. If you don't make any changes, people say, well, when are you going to give these kids a chance? Yeah, so, I mean, it's a catch-22 for him. I just thought it was a difficult game for the players who did get the opportunity. I think Ollie Watkins come out with a positive of getting the goal. And I think the players who are regulars in the side probably would have been better sitting on the bench, to be perfectly honest. I think that in games like that, you can become a better player when you're actually sitting on the bench watching it, because it will all be changed. You know, obviously Harry Kane will come back into the team against Italy in midweek, and I think he gives you that security, the balance. You've got a superstar like Jude Bellingham who will certainly come back into it. So look, we've got so many talented players, but just it's not convincing. It's not gelling, you know. I would say that not only for the team with all them changes last night. I think in general, I think that we underachieve as a nation. I think with the players we've got, either that or we're hyping these players up to be something what they're not. And I don't think that is the case. I think we have got quality players. You see it for their clubs in the Champions League, but it's about gelling them in the correct manner and getting a real formation which suits the individuals. So at the moment, I think there's more questions than answers.
And in terms, Clinton, of players who did grab their opportunity last night for England, who were they?
Well, Tim mentioned one. I think Ollie Watkins. Listen, it's difficult. As he said, Australia made it difficult. They got back into their shape. They caused problems. They didn't really have a lot of the ball, but when they were there, I think Sam Johnson made a good save, a really good save where Tomori could have probably flicked it in, and he didn't really have much more to do. So you're looking at it and you're thinking, it's a difficult one. Listen, we all know what those players can do, but as I said, for a centre-forward like Ollie Watkins, who's got a lot of competitions come the summer, because the likes of, you're talking about Ivan Toney, Callum Wilson, that will be there or thereabouts. Don't think he was in the squad because he was injured. They've got a lot of options up front in that striking position. Listen, and Eddie and Nketiah as well. We all know Harry Kane's going to be the main man. Will Gareth Southgate take two centre-forwards? He hasn't before. He's always only ever took one and took most of the wide players. So it was a difficult night. You look at people like Madison, he was getting frustrated because he dropped so deep. He was meant to play in that 10. Sometimes he was picking the ball off dunk. Jack Grealish on the left-hand side. Outstanding player, but couldn't get enough of the ball to go and cause problems. But what he did do, he set up the goal. It was a great ball from Trent Alexander-Arnold. Great touch from Grealish. Yeah. The ball from Trent was superb, and the touch from Grealish
we know he can do
outstanding. We know Trent can do that. That's what I'm trying to say. And I was surprised when he started him at right back, because I thought he might play him in midfield. But listen, those players are quality players. And at the end of the day, it was a friendly. England got the result. You move on to Italy game.
Lee, as we continue to reflect on England last night, Aaron Ramsdale doesn't get a chance. He's always number 2 to Jordan Pickford for England. Sam Johnson of Crystal Palace gets the nod in goal. Were you surprised at all by that call by Southgate?
Possibly, yeah. I think you look at, obviously, Sam Johnson's obviously playing, isn't he, now? And obviously Ramsdale's been sort of forced out of that Arsenal side, which, you know, I think we've had many discussions over of where Mikel Arteta's going with that. And yeah, I thought, you know, this would have been an ideal opportunity just to put him back between the sticks, give him that bit of confidence. He's done that before, hasn't he, with Gareth, with players that he's so-called trusted in, the likes of Maguire. He's done it with Henderson. So, you know, I was pretty shocked, but listen, I'm a big fan of Sam Johnson. I think he's been excellent.
Would you put him above, say, Nick Pope and what he's doing at Newcastle United at the moment?
Who? Ramsdale?
Johnston.
Yeah, I would do. Like I said, I'm more of a fan than Pope, because I think Sam Johnston can bring that bit more quality with his feet. You know, when the ball comes to his feet, he's very good at distributing and looking at making them passes, and that's one thing that Pope probably goes under that scrutiny of not having the ability to also do that. And that's where I like Sam. I think, you know, coming into the side, I looked at that yesterday and all them changes that Gareth made, and just reflecting on what the guys said. I think it's hard when you make that many changes in a team, because you know, as a nation, and fans, we all look upon what Gareth's doing and we say, yeah, he's brave making all them changes in these friendly games. But I think what I would have liked to have seen yesterday was something where, because we've got such a good forward area of players and a big pool of players, is that, you know, could he have maybe played a Watkins and a Kane yesterday and, you know, played half a game and then brought players into the fold that, you know, we might have to sometimes change the style of play that when we're going into tournament play, because I think that's one thing with England. At times, we are sort of one dimension, if you get what I mean. And that's why I think, why wouldn't it have been a good idea to have played Kane?
Is that the worry when you come up against difficult teams, like we saw in Australia last night, like we may well get against Italy on Tuesday?
Well, we see this all the time in international football, don't we? Lots of teams sit back and we have to try and break them down in certain ways, and we get frustrated and we end up losing games to teams that we should go and win quite comfortably. It was proven yesterday again. Yes, we look at the number of changes, but, you know, could we have done something different, as in not making 10 changes, but making 5 changes and looking at the forward area where we are going to hurt sides at international football? And I think that yesterday was an ideal opportunity to play a Watkins where he can stretch. We know Harry Kane drops into pockets of space where he picks up the ball and he can easily pick them passes out for Watkins and get in the box. That was the only thing that I probably would have looked at yesterday, because there was too many performances yesterday where, you know, they've been thrown into the fold. They haven't worked together as such on the field. And listen, it's hard to really come into a team and go, right, I'm going to stake my name for this shirt, because, as Tim said, the team pretty much picks itself. But I think it's looking long-term when we get into these competition stages where we have got to break teams down. Can we do something different?
And Steve, in terms of the team picking itself, someone that Gareth Southgate continues to include in the squad, he picked him last night, Jordan Henderson, now playing his trade in Saudi Arabia, 33 years of age. He came off in the 62nd minute. There were 1 or 2 boos at Wembley Stadium last night. There's a fairly staunch defence from Gareth Southgate after the game, talking about what he's brought to England, his record for England, his influence on some of the younger players as well. Can you understand why he continues to be part of the setup and why he continues to keep deploying him?
Yeah, I think he's deservedly part of that England fold.
What, on form or reputation?
I think both. You know, he's playing his trade, obviously, in another country. A lot of frowns upon that, but, you know, he's still a fantastic player. But also what he brings to that squad in and around bringing on other players under his wing, what he's done with Declan Rice, people like that, Jude Bellingham, for instance. He can bring a calmness to the squad. I think a lot of stuff now with the England setup is not just done on the training pitch. A lot of it is done in corridors, it's done in team meetings, it's done in walking from the training ground to the pitch. So there's huge elements that's beneficial for him. Does he start? That's the biggest factor. I think you need him in and around the players, in and around the squad, in and around the base. But that would be the biggest question mark on him. Does he get into the starting lineup?
Shall we have a look at the Group C table as things stand, and in terms of where England sit ahead of that key match against Italy coming on Tuesday night? Well, sitting pretty at the top. By the way, Ukraine and Macedonia, they've just got underway in their game this afternoon in Group C. If they draw that and then England go on to beat Italy on Tuesday, England are there for Euro 2024. Jamie, we know we beat them back in March away against Italy. Do you expect England to get the job done on Tuesday against the Italians again?
Yeah, I think it's obviously completely different to last night. I think the guys have said probably the majority, if not everyone, will be changed. And I think last night gave an opportunity. The lads spoke about Ollie Watkins. I think they're probably more so than ever replacing Harry Kane, probably making sure that they're the one who is going to be playing in a major tournament in front of, let's say, it's him and Nketiah and Wilson. It's at this time when you're getting the chance, it's can you get on the plane rather than can you get in the starting 11. I think that was the biggest thing for those people with an opportunity yesterday. I think on next week, completely different test, and I think it's a much better gauge in terms of where they're going to be at. And like Lee said, I think just getting something different into a side in a game like that is what England needs to focus on. Someone coming in last night is, let's say that Watkins plays. He plays with 10 other people who play together all the time in the England side, and then you can really get a better feel as a player, rather than playing with 10 other people who are also playing for the first time and not really played. It's very difficult to shine, I think.
Let's continue with our chat about the Euro 2024 qualifiers and talk about Spain against Scotland, a game that continues to be talked about, not least of all because of the goal that was eventually disallowed for Scott Tominey. It was an absolute worldie. It means Scotland's hopes of getting to Euro 2024, well, they remain on track, but for now, they remain on ice. I mean, Tim, we spend most of our time here on Soccer Saturday, particularly last week, discussing VAR decisions. Yeah. We've seen some bad ones this season in the Premier League. In terms of what happened with Scott McTominay and Scotland earlier this week on Thursday night, did they get it right? Did they get it wrong? I mean, it took them 16 minutes to decide whether it was given for a foul or offside. Ultimately, it was a mess, wasn't it?
It was a mess. I'm not one of those who thinks it takes too long. I think just get the right decision.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they actually did that in the end. I thought they were very unlucky, Scotland. You know, it was a good performance. They're very competitive. You don't imagine Scotland to be competitive against the likes of Spain, and they beat them once, and they should have got something out of that game. So it looks like they're on their way. If Norway don't beat Spain, then they will qualify for the championships anyway, and they deserve to qualify. I think Clark has done a fantastic job with that group of players. I think they've got good players now, you know, all playing at a high level in the Premier League. But he's got them play them correctly how he wants them to play and to shine them in the best possible light. I think they play with a nice system that looks to be solid. They're hard to break down. They've got some flair, hard workers in the midfield area. McTominay is for me, a player who plays for Scotland better than he plays for Man United because the manager recognises what his strengths are. He's about energy. He's about up and down. He's about getting his foot in, running back towards his own goal. He's got an eye for a goal, as we've seen from Man United when he comes on for 5 minutes and scores 2, you know, against Brentford when they actually absolutely need him. So hopefully Ten Hag is looking at this and saying, you know what, this boy is not one of my signings and might not be the sexiest player because he's come from the academy, might not be the most fashionable player, but you know what? He's got a lot of quality and he's good enough to play in this Man United side. Can't all be superstars. And it's proven that because they're a shambles at the moment, Manchester United. And I think boys like McTominay and Hannibal, there has to be a place for them. Academy boys come through who really care about the future of the football club. And I think what he does for Scotland highlights to the Man United manager that he's good enough to play in their side.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about Manchester United and how they rescued that situation in the Premier League a week ago. But Jamie, Steve Clark's someone you know particularly well. I mean, it's the first time they dropped points. They had those 5 straight wins. He's getting such a good tune out of this Scotland side. How's he doing it?
I think, having worked for him, we were actually speaking before, Steve worked for him at Chelsea as well. I actually had him down probably as someone who would do really well on an international stage. He's very, very organised. He's worked with top players in the past and other very good managers. And I think that the ability to get a group of players together when he hasn't got them for that long, I think really suits him in terms of being on the grass with them and watching them in between. I think, albeit the talking point is, again, refereeing. They've actually got to be really pleased with their performance again, and it's a strong showing. I think that in years gone by, it's going to Spain's going to be sort of everyone behind the ball, and I know they played very deep, but it would be with no chance of getting anything. And I think that he's changed the culture and the mentality of one that they actually believe. And I think that a lot of Scottish fans are going to be wearing Spain shirts tomorrow because they've got Norway. And if they beat Norway, I think that's them qualified. If not, I do expect with the momentum he's got, the way they're playing, the belief that he's now installed in these players, that they'll go and get the job done in the south when they've got Georgia and Norway themselves next month.
Yeah, let's just remind you of how Group A is looking because, as Jamie rightly said, Scotland are pretty much there. That result against Spain, as I said, just putting things on ice in terms of them absolutely securing their place, and they will qualify potentially this weekend tomorrow if Norway don't win against Spain in Oslo. So they are as good as their England's game against Italy, of course, to come on Tuesday night.